What is up, AO family? It's Bryan Clayton back at you again this month to answer your questions about growing your business, running your business, problems you're facing in business, and happy to do it. This is one of my favorite things I get to do each month is put myself in you guys' shoes and figure out what I would do to help grow and solve problems that you might be facing in your small business. Just to add a little bit of context for those of you who don't know me, my name is Bryan Clayton. I am CEO of a company called Green Pal, which is an app that works like Uber but for lawn mowing services. I've been running that for about 10 years. And before that, I ran a landscaping business for 15 years that I grew to 150 people and eventually was acquired. So, been in business for myself for 22 years, seen a lot of challenges along the way, and glad to help you guys out. So, let's get into the first question by Kristen Lander. What is the fastest, easiest thing I could do to grow my business from the stage I'm in today? I operate an online nutrition coaching business for strength athletes. I'm currently doing $120,000 in annual sales, and I have four coaches, one administrative assistant on my team. My current way of driving new business revenue is through positioning myself as an authority in my niche via my podcast and social media. In 2023, I would like to grow my business by at least 50%. To accomplish that, what are some immediate things that you would recommend I do in order to reach that goal? Okay, so the first thing is so the way you framed your question, fastest and easiest. So let's just take that out of our vocabulary. there's no fast, easy way to do anything in business. Maybe there is, but let's go ahead and just delete those words. Um, and maybe you might replace them with smartest and wisest thing that I could do to grow my business. But you make a good point here at the stage I'm in today, which is a really good way to frame that question because a lot of times in business is like almost like a video game, really, like 10 levels of Super Mario Brothers, and you just work one level at a time. You don't worry about Bowser when you're on levels one, two, or three, or four. You only worry about Bowser when you're on level 10. And so every level has its own set of challenges, and every level has its own final boss, maybe its own dragon that you have to defeat at the end of the level. So let's look at it that way. What level am I at in the metaphorical 10 levels of growing my business? And 120,000 in revenue, that's awesome, So you're definitely past level one. You got some customers, you got some employees, metaphorically, maybe you're on levels two or three, and so now you're trying to get to level four. And so, what does level four look like? Level four is maybe, like you said, 50%, maybe 250K in revenue. And so, how do we get there? And at this level of the game, my advice, if I woke up in your shoes, would be to figure out what am I doing that's working, and how do I do more of that? So, how did I get to 120K? How did I get four coaches? And let's figure out a way to do more of that. Like how do I get these four coaches more business, and how do I fill up their schedules more? Are they maxed out already? Probably not. If it's four of them and it's 120K, I imagine they have more bandwidth to do more coaching. So at this stage of the game, your job is more or less probably one of how do I generate more sales? How do I generate more top of the funnel traffic? How do I generate more inquiries? How do I close more of those? What's funny in business is you're not really even in the coaching business anymore. You're in the sales business. You're in the content business around the coaching that you're doing. You're in the generate eyeballs business more than you're even in the coaching business, which is kind of crazy. So what I would do is I would figure out, okay, how are we getting people inquiring about us? Okay, you said through social media, and I'm positioning myself as an expert and my podcast. How do I do more of that? How do I go on other podcasts? How do I maybe do more social media content? How do I like 10x all of that? How do I get on a system to where I'm literally leveling that up to the next level of the video game. And like the goal is great of $250,000 or $500,000. That's awesome. It's important to have goals, but I almost wouldn't even worry about the goals. I would worry about the system and the routine and the process, and I would work on that. And so, what is the routine? What is the process that's going to get us there? And it's like, okay, well, I know every week I need to do 10 things. I need to create this amount of content. I need to write this blog post. I need to do this podcast episode. I need to reach out to 10 other podcasters in my niche and try to pitch them on coming on their show. I need to do an Ask Me Anything on Instagram. I don't know. These aren't like tactically like pieces of advice I'm giving you, but what I'm saying is like you need to go through the exercise of what am I already doing and what are the things that I need to do to 10x all of that, and let's lay it out in a routine every week and put it on a calendar, and every single day is mapped out with the process of how I'm going to get to 250. And don't even worry about 250 anymore. Just worry about that process. Worry about routines, systems, processes, habits, and the goals will happen. And that's maybe how you get to level 4. So hope that helps. Next question from Josh I'm sorry, I can't pronounce your last name. Caramiato is my best guess. What is the fastest, easiest thing I can do to grow my business from the stage I'm in today? That's the same question, so that might be a typo. Let's see. Hold on one second. Yeah, I think that's a typo. Let's just say Instify started in August and is currently projected to do 10,000 a year in annual sales. We currently only have John and myself on our team, and we both have full-time jobs. Right now, we work nights and weekends for the business. Currently, my current way of driving new business is finding good product deals and ensuring the product has less than 100,000 90-day bestseller rank on Amazon. In 2003, I would like to grow this business to over $1 million in sales. To accomplish that, what are some immediate things you would do in order to reach that goal? I specifically love to know your thoughts on how to transition to quitting my full-time job and going all in on this business. How do I know when the time is right? Okay, so maybe that is the question. It's just the same question as the last question. Okay, so this is kind of a two-part question. I guess part of your question is, how do I grow the business? But the bigger question is, how do I know when it's time to quit my full-time job? And I think the second question is more important because this is like a life question. And the reality is like it's okay to work nights and weekends on your business until you get it to a certain level, until you feel comfortable quitting your main job and going all in on the business. When I started Green Pal, my two co-founders worked nights and weekends for like 3 years because we weren't making enough money to pay them the salary they needed. And so we kind of just eased our way into that. And they worked nights and weekends until we made enough money to replace their salary. So my advice would be, first, let's like, the least you can live on, the greater your options as a business owner. So a lot of people have this fallacy of your business is separate from your personal finances and so on. And the reality is your personal finances are your business's finances. So the first thing I would do is like take an audit of my personal finances and try to live on the least amount of money I could, whether it be maybe rent a cheaper place to live or, get rid of the car payment, get rid of the credit card debt, get rid of the student loan debt, clean all that up to where you can live on like 4 or 5K a month, or whatever crazy amount that is. So the least of personal burn that you have, that shortens the runway of how much your business needs to pay you to replace your salary. So that's what I would do. I would take time, maybe 6 months, get all of my personal finances cleaned up to where I could live on the least amount of money possible. And then I would try to and then while doing that, I would try to get my side business up to a point where it could replace that monthly figure that I needed. Let's just say $5,000 a month. and or maybe close to it, maybe 80% of the way there. Because once you're all in on the business, you'll be able to grow it faster. But that's how I would tackle that. The last thing you want to do is just jump off the diving board and hope it all works out, and then the next thing you know, you're drowning in credit card debt. And one crazy thing about starting a business is banks will loan you, crazy amounts of money, like 50K, 100K. And so next thing you know, you got like, now your business is no longer a blessing. It's a big chain around your neck. It's got all kinds of short-term lines of credit and stuff attached to it. And so you don't want that. You want to do this smart. You want to make this transition smart. So that's what I would do. One, take my personal burn down to the lowest amount possible. Two, keep working nights and weekends until I can replace 80% of the money from the business paying me as the manager to run it. And so I know I could survive off of it. And then three, I would work my ass off on growing the business, and I would do exactly the things that I just said in the last question. I would lay out the steps, the things that got me where I am today, and 10,000 a year in sales, and how do I do more of that more efficiently, and lay out the system, the routines, the processes on a daily basis. I would do that now anyway, just nights and weekends. Like, I have 4 hours a day. What are the things I'm doing in the business on a daily basis to drive it forward? And I would work on that process, and the goal will happen. Is what I would do. I don't know enough about your business to give you like personal marketing or like specific marketing advice. Maybe we can talk about that next month. But I think the crux of your question is when do you know to go all in, and that's how I would think about that. Next question is from Robin Turpin. What questions would you ask a shop owner that may want to sell my art? I have a meeting with a golf pro who is going to take me around the course so I can take photographs for future paintings. I am hoping that he would sell the golf scenes in their pro shop, give them as gift awards for members. Okay, all right. Let's see. What would I ask a shop owner that may want to sell my art? Try to get them to try to ask them open-ended questions and get them to tell stories. And it's like, what do you think? What I think a lot of times artists, there's a disconnect between the art they create and what the market wants. And so if you can think in terms of creating products that the market wants, and less so I'm an artist creating beauty, I think you'll be ahead of like 99% of artists. And so I would try to figure out what the market demand looks like for that product, and the shop owner might know, like, so what do you think about this abstract golfer off in the distance, and or what do you think, maybe a landscape, try to ask them open-ended questions about what their customers might want, because that's what you need to know, and then that needs to drive what you spend. I don't know how long it takes to create a piece of art, probably 10 to 100 hours. Try to gather as much insight about what the appetite of the customer is, what their customers might be looking for, and then try to create to that, rather than I think this would look awesome, and then maybe you might get lucky and the buying public thinks it's awesome too. But what you're basically doing there, your question is around customer development, and it's what is the appetite? What would people look for when they would buy a painting off of the wall in a pro shop? What does that look like? What would those people want to see? And that's what the shop owner might be able to help you understand. Is how I would frame it if I was in your shoes. The next thing is, be willing to add 10 times the value that you're asking for when you are proposing an arrangement like this with a shop owner. So what I mean by that is make it a no-brainer. One of my favorite quotes is Steve Martin. He said, "Be so good they can't say no." So make him an offer. It's like, hey, listen, I'm going to create 3 custom pieces for you. You can hang them on the wall. If we sell them, great. I'll split the profit with you, but it's not going to cost you anything. And so you get to have this beautiful original art on your wall. And if you sell it, you make money. If not, it makes the shop look beautiful. And when we do that, we can then learn about what the customers are looking for because nobody's buying this one, but somebody bought that one. And so we get some insight about what people want. So make it a no-brainer. Make it a deal that he can't refuse. It's going to cost you some hustle. It's going to cost you some sweat equity. You're not going to make money like right off the bat, but that's how you cultivate that relationship. Last question this month from Kimberly Benjamin. Can you sell an idea on how to make an existing product better? I sell life insurance, and when I'm slow at the salon, and we have an app that we use, and I feel there are ways to improve the app to help customer experience, and I wanted to know, how do you pitch an idea to sell it at the same time? I wanted to pitch this idea to that company. What steps would you take? So ideas are worth about $10. It's like ideas. I mean, to be candid, ideas are worthless. It's execution's everything. Business is a lot like exercise and dieting. Uh, you get paid for what gets done. So like, let's say you wanted to lose 20 pounds and put on 5 pounds of muscle. You don't get the results from reading Muscle and Fitness, looking at different fitness apps, shopping gym prices, looking at different nutrition routines. You don't see any results from that stuff. You get paid. You see the results from going into the gym, hitting the weights, hitting the treadmill, waking up early, going for a run, doing yoga, saying no to dessert at dinner, counting your calories that you eat. Like the actual execution is what gets you the results. Business is exactly that way. The ideas are worthless. So no, I wouldn't waste my time trying to pitch them on improvements. Now, maybe you have some interest in this sort of thing, and maybe one day you want to build an app or something like that. That's different. I would like literally package all of my thoughts up and give it to these people for free. And you never know what might happen. You say, hey, I'm using this app. Here's like 10 things I noticed: screenshots, notes, maybe just a simple Google Doc. Loom.com is a great way to do screen recording, and just give them, your thoughts. Like, hey, I love your app, but here's 10 things you might want to know that can improve it. And you never know what could come from that. They can say, hey, that's awesome. Thank you. Would you like a job as in our product department, and you can help us improve the app even more, or you never know where that might go. But pitching them and saying, hey, I have some ideas, you want to pay me? Like, no, I don't waste your time doing that. Hope that helps, everybody. I will see you next month. Everybody keep grinding on your business. And I think small business is one of the best things you can do with your life. So I think the best way you can win is by not giving up. Everybody have a good Thanksgiving. Peace.